Good afternoon to everyone in attendance. On behalf of Pond & Company, it's a great pleasure and an honor to be here with you guys. Let's go ahead and start this presentation by explaining the history of Pond & Company, because it's really important for us to understand how we have grown into this big BIM competitor in the industry. Pond & Company was founded in 1965. We essentially design a full range of architectural, engineering, planning, and construction management services, which encompass our main client, the DoD. We specialize in federal and military facilities, aviation fueling, public safety, civic education facilities, transportation, landscape architectural planning, urban design, municipal infrastructure, green energy, and construction, amongst others. We are ranked amongst the ENR's top 500 engineering firms, and we are a top 25 engineering firm, as listed by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. Pond & Company's default design authoring platform, historically, was always AutoCAD. In 2006, we made the decision to implement BIM technology in our corporation. It wasn't until 2008 that we deployed our first multidiscipline BIM project. And I remember it clearly. It was a DoD project for NAFAC, and it was an actual addition. It was a renovation project. In 2011, the DoD, our main client, included BIM as part of their new contract requirements. And so pioneering BIM put us on the leading edge of our competition, but it also made us realize how disruptive our collaboration methods were always, or had always been. And I'm going to explain why I say that. In order for us to comprehend that notion, I want you to understand that our headquarters is located in Peachtree Corners. Then came the first baby, us, Jacksonville. And then something happened. We had many other babies. So with that being said, for Pond & Company introducing a technology such as BIM, it was not really a disruptive change. It was actually an enhancement to our disruptive firm practices, which were collaboration via file transfers. We were mirroring network drives. We were even replicating files across the network. Why? Because we were all divided into different teams in different offices. So before BIM technology came into play, as well as cloud technology, we were forced to essentially group projects based on offices. So we had projects that were design authored based on office-centric solutions. BIM, as we all know, is a technology that forces us to communicate. It's a technology that forces us to coordinate who's going to be doing what, when are we going to do it, and who's going to be in charge of doing X, Y, or Z part of a building. So with over 18 different office locations, the real challenge became, how do we keep everyone connected? The answer was BIM technology as well as cloud technology. So here comes the era of change within Pond & Company. That's when we decided to introduce and implement BIM technology. With over 10 years of loyal service, Applied Software helped us to actually implement the technology by selling us our first Revit software licenses, being patient enough to train us and our first group of employees, and then providing all the technical knowledge and support during that implementation phase. Then comes the new era, the cloud technology era. And then Applied Software was still there. They helped us to not only implement the cloud technology by selling us our first BIM 360 Glue and A360 collaboration licenses, but they also helped us by training our staff, providing all the technical support during the implementation phase, as well as being the bridge between Pond and Autodesk for any sort of technical issues. Because as you may or may not know, this new cloud technology is actually managed directly by Autodesk. So by applied software being the bridge, communicating back and forth the technical issues and making sure that Autodesk resolved them immediately, that really helped us tremendously. So for those of you who don't know about BIM 360, BIM 360 Glue is a cloud-based BIM management and coordination application that allows multidiscipline teams to quickly identify and resolve design and coordination issues. It connects the entire project team regardless of the geographical location. So now you can understand how much this helped us with all the different offices that we have across the nation and across the globe. It allows us to upload models, sheets, elevations, details, and three-dimensional views directly from the design authoring platform, aka either Revit, AutoCAD, etc. And it also allows us to engage in spatial walkthroughs because, as we know, things that might not be captured in a geometrical clash does not mean that everything has been designed efficiently. So we engage in also in these spatial walkthroughs to detect things that are not discernible, that cannot be picked up geometrically. The application also allows us to create markups, clashes, and comments that can be sent directly to design team members straight from the application. The application can be accessed virtually from anywhere at any time, including smartphones and tablets. Its full interoperability with the design authoring software allows the clashes to be seen and resolved directly from Revit, CAD, and Civil 3D, which means that it also has 100% Revit property recognition. So an element that you see with XYZ properties in Revit, it's an element that you will see with such same properties once you upload it and you transfer it over to BIM 360 Glue. It provides an uninterrupted workflow because there's no need for us to reappend the files after the corrected models have been uploaded. There's also no need for us to recreate the markups or even recreate the clash tests after they have been completed. In other words, if you have 10 clash tests and you're clashing objects between structural and HVAC, then you're clashing objects between electrical and HVAC, you create those clashes today, Tuesday. Let's say that tomorrow, Wednesday, you change something within the design, and you have to upload new geometry at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, those 10 pre-existing clashes, they do not need to be recreated. All you have to do is just click on the update button, and based on the newly updated geometry, it's going to reflect either items corrected, new and open and unresolved clashes, or if you had previously ignored any of the clashes, they still remain ignored. So that saves a lot of time for project teams collaborating on the fly from multiple offices with little time to really just stop and think and recreate stuff. But the number one solution when it comes to bridging the gap between the designers and the contractors is that you can also invite the contractors. You can connect them directly with your BIM 360 Glue geometry, or you can extract the data and send it to the partnering application called BIM 360 Field.
Awesome. So far, Leo, I appreciate that. We're going to pause for just a minute and ask a polling question for the group. And basically, it's asking if you're using cloud collaboration. Yes, no, or you'd like to. So we'll leave that open just for a little bit, make sure folks are paying attention, and give Leo a break for a minute. Looks like got a good percentage of folks in there, about 50%, 60% have voted. Let's give that another second or two. All right, we're about 70% of folks have voted. All right, it looks like 25% of the folks have said yes, they have used cloud collaboration. 50% said no, but 25% said they'd like to. So this may get you interested and spark that interest to learn more about it. So I'll close the poll and take it back to Leo and continue the conversation. Leo?
Easy.
There you go.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about A360 collaboration and A360 team, which has now recently been renamed to BIM 360 team. A360 basically is a cloud collaboration subscription. It's a service that allows people working in teams in Revit to concurrently author BIM models utilizing such software. So essentially, regardless of their geographical location, they can go and work cohesively in a multidisciplinary project using BIM on the cloud, and the cloud being the service being provided by Autodesk, of course. A360 Team, it's web-based counterpart. It's a online project collaboration service that offers design professionals powerful viewing, searching, file sharing, and also file coordination capabilities. It connects all the teams, regardless of their geographical location, in one single place where they can all see the same information, mark up the same information, and even comment and delegate tasks based on the same current information. It allows you to upload over 100 different file formats directly to the cloud, from BIM models to PDFs to Excel files, animations, renderings, etc. Markups and comments can be delegated to any of the design team members, and they can be accessed from anywhere at any time, including from a smartphone or from a tablet.
All right, fantastic. I got another quick poll question here for everybody. Let me just launch that. And basically, it's just, are you using clash detection on any of your projects? Yes, no, or you'd like to as well. So we'd just like to hear some feedback from you all. I'll let that be open for a couple more seconds. Got about 50% of you have voted. That's great. Appreciate that. We're up to about 60%. We'll let that keep going for a little bit, and then I'll close it and see if I can't share the results as well. All right, looks like we got a good sampling of that. Let me just share that. Looks like about 38% of you said yes, you're using clash detection. 44% said no, but 19% of you said you would. That was about 75% of y'all answered those questions. So I appreciate that, and we'll continue learning a little bit more about the cloud-based solutions and some clash detection. Leo?
Thank you. So essentially, cloud computing brought connectivity for all of our teams working across remote regions. We then became pioneers of the cloud technology by using services and applications such as the ones that I just mentioned, A360 Collaboration for Revit, A360 Team, as well as BIM 360 Glue. Some of the benefits of cloud collaboration technology that we have seen so far in Pond & Company have been the following. When it comes to BIM 360 Glue, it connected Pond remote offices and outside consultants in spatial walkthroughs and model integrity check processes. The investment was far more economical than investing in Navisworks for the same amount of licenses that we currently hold. In Navisworks, we were talking about approximately $15,000 per license. On BIM 360 Glue, with our initial contract, we spent approximately $17,000 for unlimited users. Pond has already met its return on investment because in one single project called the Manatee County project, one potential change order that we captured utilizing the clash detection software would have cost us $25,000 to fix on site. So there you go, $25,000 versus, or subtracting the investment of $17,000, it's a given that we made money from the get-go on the first project that we actually tested utilizing the clash detection feature. From then on, we have found essentially countless would-be RFIs and would-be change orders utilizing this software. We also found that executing our internal model integrity check process with BIM 360 Glue was way faster than utilizing Navisworks. The process being so it was a little bit more tedious. It would take approximately anything from 6 hours to 2 days to complete. In Navisworks, the process currently takes no longer than 3 hours in BIM 360 Glue. Another thing that we like about utilizing BIM 360 is that once we complete the process, we don't send that off just to one person. The entire team gets notified, and the entire team has the capability of logging in and observing online now all the information that we clash tested, all the results, and they all get more acclimated with the entire MICP process of checking the files, running the clash tests, observing the markups that we find during the spatial walkthroughs, etc. With A360 collaboration, it connected pond remote offices and outside consultants. It was faster to develop Revit projects with less technical difficulties and interruptions, and we spent less money on setting up IT infrastructure. Essentially, what we avoided was the need to pause, send files, and continue. Pause, receive files, link information, assess the damage, and continue. Everything is occurring live on the cloud, so there's no need for us to stop and go. The only need for us to do that is when we actually need to submit the files to the client, which is something that we can also do directly from the application. Other enhancements to our firm practices were that the cloud collaboration technology made us essentially more efficient. It was an easy implementation process because both applications didn't require any kind of complicated or expensive IT setup. It was an easy learning curve. BIM 360 Glue's easy-to-use interface attracted many of our folks, especially the young staff and even the non-Revit users, the project managers, which is something, in my opinion, really hard to come across. The savings in production were dramatic, as well as savings during the QA/QC process, because like I explained to you, it has come down to a repetitive process that takes approximately 3 hours to complete. The time savings brought forth by BIM 360 Glue has allowed us to develop a standard model integrity check process that is being utilized through the entire duration of the design development stage. What this means is that in Navisworks, we could only budget for a one-time check process on projects, which unfortunately was always near final, which we all know it's a little bit too late in the game for us to be finding bad design clashes. BIM 360 Glue is used repeatedly from conception to final. So in other words, it has allowed for us to open it for continued use throughout the entire life cycle of the design process. It includes our standard model integrity check process includes 41 standard clash tests and a spatial walkthrough process that gets repeated and repeated and repeated until we minimize the amount of clash tests and markups that we find on every single project, making us more and more and more efficient. There are some examples of some projects where we have seen or taken advantage of all this technology. This is the Jacksonville Transportation Authority Regional Transit Center, JTA RTC project. It has a cost of approximately $40 million being done here in Jacksonville, Florida. The project envisions a multimodal approach to create a hub that will improve traffic flow by integrating key local, regional, and inner-city services such as bus networks, taxis, rental car services, and future rail service. The JRTC has the potential to revitalize the La Villa area into a vibrant activity hub for the city of Jax. The design team's innovative concept also includes a raised outdoor public space, which will offer visitors striking views of the Jacksonville skyline, as well as opportunities for future restaurants and a variety of community events. Now, the technology that we used on this project was both A360 collaboration for Revit and A360 team. Soon enough, we're going to be engaging on clash detection. The project is still ongoing, but so far we have been able to take advantage and see the benefits of using the software because the project is actually comprised of a joint venture between two companies, Pond and Company and Michael Baker. So being in two different companies slash office buildings, two remote regions, multiple states, even for some of the stakeholders, it was actually a lifesaver. Our Director of Development, Alan Iosu, says the A360 cloud application that Mr. Fernandez implemented during the pursuit of the JRTC project was instrumental to our success. It enabled our team across the country to have immediate access to the BIM files and also provided up-to-date changes. Our team worked with much more collaboratively due to A360 and his leadership. And then Brad Rhodes, our lead project architect, says we were able to team architects and designers from two companies who work seamlessly from offices in Boston, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Norfolk, and Sacramento. The team created a conceptual design of a highly complex intermodal transportation center that included multiple link models and the surrounding city blocks of downtown Jax. The end result was a highly successful collaboration that created a winning project. Without the use of A360, we could have not been successful in our joint venture opportunity. This other project example here, it's the Virginia Air National Guard State Headquarters building. It's based off of Richmond, Virginia, with a cost of $27 million. The proposed facility will be a nearly 98,000 square foot two-story building to be used as a new state headquarters and readiness center facility for the Virginia Army National Guard. Space within the building would be allocated for multiple uses, including the office of the Adjutant General of Virginia, J1, J8 sections, a joint operations center, headquarters and headquarters detachment, recruiting and retention, Air National Guard, Department of Military Affairs, and a sensitive compartmented information facility. The applications that we used on this project were all the ones that I have mentioned. We used A360 for collaborating with Revit. We used A360 Team in order for us to engage in virtual markups and comments that were delegated directly to all the team members of the project. And we used BIM 360 Glue for us to create the clash detection reports and for us to walk the space virtually along with all the stakeholders to find issues and coordinate last-minute changes. Rosanna Richards, our Senior Vice President, said that A360 Cloud Collaboration and BIM 360 Glue were used by our project architects and engineers on this project to help in the everyday workflow of producing the design documents on a large DoD headquarters facility. This helped us eliminate the redesign of project elements due to clashes. It was also used as part of our final quality control review process, and it identified minor clashes that would otherwise probably not have been detected until construction, thus reducing the number of construction RFIs. BIM 360 Glue is a great example of how improved technology can facilitate the design process. Mark Willey, our Vice President of Technology, says, collaboration in the cloud through the use of tools like A360 have enabled our teams to share information much more efficiently. These tools reduce the time required to manage the collaboration process, as well as additional systems used in previous means of collaboration. Our project teams collaborating in the cloud are in better sync with one another, creating exceptionally coordinated designs. The time required to coordinate models between design disciplines has been greatly reduced, saving project budget while achieving higher quality. And for our final example, we have Nice High School, which is here in St. John's, Florida, with a cost of $13.2 million. The proposed project shall include an approximately 60,000 square foot new two-story classroom academic building, food service expansion, new bus canopies, and new student visitor and entry canopy rotunda. We use A360 Team and we use BIM 360 Glue on it. Again, we found many would-be RFIs. We coordinated many would-be design clashes, and we also coordinated some last-minute design change, decisions. Decision-making was actually done utilizing BIM 360 Glue. Our senior architect, Mike Dennison, said that on the Nice High School project, A360 Team was used to share our design files with our outside consultants directly on the web. The tilt wall panels were designed in Revit and were sent out for fabrication to a company that was able to extract the data directly from the BIM model. The model was also given to the construction manager to allow their subs to produce shop drawings for the building's fire sprinkler protection system. BIM 360 Glue was used to run clash detection and spatial walkthroughs. Several clashes were discovered, and the models were revised to alleviate the clashes. Without this technology, the collaboration process with our outside consultants would have been more tedious and time-consuming. By engaging in cloud-based spatial walkthroughs and clash detection, we were able to produce a better coordinated set of construction documents. On the right-hand side of this slide, you're going to see some examples of some of the clashes that were found for this particular project. You can see we have structural members in collision with HVAC equipment, and we have piping in collision with footing and some other structural components. As a conclusion, BIM and cloud computing has enhanced the way that we design and collaborate, and we're thankful that applied software was an important part of that process. BIM actually brought the need for us to communicate. And cloud computing brought connectivity for teams that were trying to communicate, teams that were working across remote regions, allowing 24/7 access to files straight from the palm of your hands, utilizing smartphones, tablets, and even laptops from home. Technology will continue to evolve, and it promises a new era of connectivity where buildings will have a better value, and the A&Es will be directly connected with contractors and fabricators, which means that we're going to have what I like to call a plug-and-play action, where cloud connectivity will prevent contractors and fabricators from having to rebuild or even recreate any of the models work currently done by the A&Es. They're going to be able to just plug directly and extract the data, avoiding the need for us to spend time reworking, remodeling, redoing all of the A&Es work.
Well, awesome, Leo. Thank you for that kind of window into your work that you practice in and the projects that you do and the technology that is exciting that Pond has embraced, and I always get excited to see that and to hear that. And I just wanted to have a little discussion before we open it up to the questions from the group here. But you know, you mentioned going back to this era of change, and it first was BIM technology and then cloud computing. When we look at the BIM technology side of things, what was there a driver to even get on the BIM platform or to get onto Revit? Can you kind of explain that? What was maybe that reasoning or process behind that?
Absolutely. The driver was actually a combination of things. The first thing was me evaluating the software and seeing the great benefit of having a full parametric engine that with bidirectional associativity we could essentially, by creating a floor plan, be creating at the same time multiple views as well as schedules. But then the determining factor that truly convinced the powers that be was that the DoD, our #1 client, announced informally that we were supposed to get ready because soon enough they were going to be incorporating BIM into their contractual requirements. So that's when we really took it seriously, and as you can see in one of our previous slides, I mentioned that it wasn't until 2011 that they formally introduced it into their contract requirements, but we actually created or completed our first project voluntarily 3 years prior to that. So we started playing around with the software in order for us internally to be ahead of the competition, and with the learning curve, which we didn't really know how steep it was going to be. We were just anticipating on having all that time as an informal training per se, an internal training phase for us to get acclimated with the software and everything that goes around not only designing but also delivering a project in BIM.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like there sort of was two convincing things to move that direction. One is it's the benefits of the software that you saw and exploring it and looking at it and some of the parametric features and interconnectivity, but then even the client or the folks you were working for to do these projects were starting to realize, hey, we want this type of information. So it's multiple drivers, and we run up against that with folks a lot of time. We're saying, when should we move to BIM, and is it because of project requirements? But there's also a lot of value that you can provide in a project just for using the software when that's not required. So when y'all did training, you said you sort of started playing around with it, you started figuring out and learning it. Was there a formalized training, or how did that, was it groups of training? How did that process go? Because I know a lot of people get overwhelmed, and you all are very advanced into cloud computing, which we're going to get to, but to get off that to get to that next level, to move to the Revit, what did the training sort of look like, and how did you all approach that?
So Applied Software provided us with their own syllabus, their own content, which we approved. We liked it, and essentially the goal for me as a BIM manager, or a person that was moving into becoming a BIM manager 11 years ago, was actually to deprogram all of my production personnel from an AutoCAD mentality and then reprogram them with an open mind into this new platform and this new workflow of utilizing BIM technology. So essentially, the training initially consisted of the basics, very basic concepts on how to use BIM for both architecture, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, as well as our structural departments.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. And then you learned of cloud technology, and you started to explore and sort of look into that. How has that really changed how you do work? And explain some of that process, how you started to move into that direction, and just sort of all the things that surrounded that.
Well, to be honest with you, it was more of a need in order for us to work more efficiently than anything else. Essentially, we all know that BIM requires for us to communicate. At the same time, the system requirements are a little bit more stringent than a normal AutoCAD platform, and so we went through a phase, a situation where we didn't know whether it would be more feasible, it would be more efficient and cost effective to spend a lot of money trying to replicate a system, a network system that emulates what the cloud collaboration system is all about. Then Autodesk came out with this idea, with this system, where we essentially just rent out their services. You know, their cloud technology, aka the license to actually use their own cloud server. And so we tested it out. We saw the benefits automatically because not only was it cheaper for us to set up that system because there's no setup used by a license, but the need for us to actually stop, download files, send them to the client, or even assess them, link them, then clean them up, eliminate and overwrite graphics, and then continue working, that was gone. So we were saving money automatically by reducing the amount of time that we had to spend coordinating information every time that a consultant had to file transfer something new to us, either on a weekly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, or even multiple times per week. So that was the main and immediate reaction. It was like, whoa, I was able to produce and complete this phase way faster than before.
Nice. Now you mentioned Glue having an easy learning curve, basically, and I think a lot of people get scared off by new technology, or it's in the cloud, where is it? It's just something different. But I found it interesting. You said it's an easy learning curve. Could you kind of explain that a little bit more, or what your impressions were of using it?
Correct. As an evaluator of the software before we actually decided to implement them, my first concern was, how does Revit and BIM 360 Glue get along with each other? How do they get along with each other? Are we talking about cousins that don't really like each other, or what? Because historically, we have dealt with applications that lose the format, the information, once you transfer them from one application to the other. So I wanted to make sure that apples were still being read as apples when we transfer the information from Revit BIM to BIM 360 Glue. And that's exactly what we were able to obtain. The interoperability is 100% compatible, which means that an element let me just give you a random example, a 3.0 by 7.0 metal door translates not only as such, but it also keeps all the Revit native information, such as the Revit element ID, a number that is so important for you to be able to pinpoint that object back in the design authoring platform. So that was the number one thing that I was looking for, and I was able to obtain it. Now, when it comes to actual users, who you are absolutely correct, they are super scared of change, actually saying, wow, this is actually easy to use. I'm talking about a platform that essentially has a window that has a comparison. You have model A, and then you have model B. What would you like to clash? And essentially, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the element classification or organization system within Revit, but you have elements that are classified in such a way where all of our Revit users are already accustomed to see. For example, we have doors, windows, we have general objects, we have specialty equipment, we have structural components, blah, 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 blah. And that's the way that Revit likes to organize them. When you transfer that information over to BIM 360 Glue, it's still classified in that same manner. So all you have to do is literally check a box on column A versus a box on column B, and that box represents these object categories. It's as easy as that, and anyone can do it.
That's awesome. That's great. And I love hearing that, you've done it and you are doing it, and it's in your projects and it's a part of your culture, where, we might show or tell people about it, but it's one thing to do that, but for you all to be using it, on a daily basis. Now, you also talked about we've been talking about this A360 and glue and different stuff, but there's an A360 collaboration, or some people call it CR4. And could you kind of explain that for some folks who aren't really familiar, maybe the kind of the higher level view of it? But sometimes you use these acronyms and people say, well, what is that? But maybe you could just give a high level, how that works and the flow of the information for us.
Absolutely. So C4R, the cloud collaboration service, is what they have assigned that name. It's A360 Collaboration for Revit C4R, and that's just the license that allows you to upload your model to the Autodesk Cloud and work cohesively with other consultants outside of your firm, or even other offices that pertain to your own corporation in other regions. So that's C4R, A360 Collaboration for Revit. Now, its counterpart, called BIM 360 Team, or A360 Team until recently, that is just the online version that allows you to go on Google Chrome, open the project online, and observe all the files, observe all the sheets, and it allows you to mark them up, add comments, delegate the changes to anyone that's been assigned to that project, and you can even engage in a spatial walkthrough online, just without the need for you to actually learn about Revit, which is our solution for senior designers and project managers who just want to go in and observe, as the project progresses, and they just want to see the sheets and maybe add a little bit of comments and get some action, some direction towards the entire team as it relates to changes that they need to apply.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know like the C4R works from within Revit, so you're actually publishing or pushing, right directly from Revit. There's not, you don't need to leave the application per se. So, well, we definitely, we definitely want to leave some time for some questions that people have been sending in. So we're gonna open the questions up. I know some of you have been sending that, and I think Chris was going to take those and kind of read through some of those, and between myself and Leo, we can address those. We might need a little more context on some of these, but Chris, why don't you? We'll go over just a couple, maybe a handful or so of questions, and then we'll go from there. But we'll turn it over to you, Chris.
Okay, sounds good. We just have a couple of questions here. The first one is from Adam. What about using BIM 360 Field?
Okay, so Pond & Company is now capable of engaging with their contractors. We have our own division now, our own group of contractors inside of Pond, and that is my goal for 2017, is to actually integrate BIM 360 Glue and Revit BIM technology utilizing BIM 360 Field with our contractors. This technology, BIM 360 Field, not only allows them to find elevation points on the field that match the geometry that has been designed in Revit, but it also has many more things that allow them to do asset management, as well as manage the actual construction phase from the palm of their hands. So this is something that we are just starting to do at Pond, but we have not fully deployed.
Okay. The next question comes from Ron. You utilize these tools per government projects mandating BIM requirements. Do you see these tools on private commercial projects? If yes, is the workflow the same, and does it affect buy-in from the subs, for example, fee structures, etc.?
So yes, we do use the same model integrity check process for DoD, government, as well as for private clients. The only difference is that the DoD already has an established workflow that obligates us to utilize or complete this process before every design submission. On the other hand, on private projects, we have the capability of only budgeting for certain submittals. But then again, this is something that actually benefits our consultants because we are actually creating the process. We are actually leading the process. We're just inviting them to join in and observe the results. So this is something standard. Regardless of the client, we're still doing it. The only difference is how often do we do it.
Okay. And another question here, is there any reason to still use Navisworks since you are using glue such as dual clashes, etc.?
Yes, Navisworks has a lot more features than BIM 360 Glue. The one thing that we have noticed about BIM 360 Glue is that it's easy to use interface, as well as its cloud capability of connecting everyone from anywhere is what really attracted the masses. But Navisworks has way more features which are more detail-oriented than BIM 360 Glue. Navisworks, it's something that we would be using starting now with BIM 360 Field to engage in a lot of phase planning in the construction phase. So that's something that we would be using Navisworks for. So the contractor would be benefiting more of Navisworks as opposed to just simply using BIM 360 Glue. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that BIM 360 Glue is the default platform or application that we will continue to use during the design phase. However, we might intertwine and use a combination of Glue, Field, and Navisworks during construction.
Okay, good. One more question from Adam. Can't you do the same thing in BIM 360 Glue instead of using Team?
You can, but you got to understand that when it comes to the use or the use that we have applied to A360 Team internally at PON is essentially to, I guess, grab a hold of all the project managers and people who are not very technically savvy, that don't really have a need for them to learn Revit, to learn the intricacies of BIM 360 Glue or Navisworks. They just want to open a Google Chrome window or even open their smartphone, open an application, press a button, and just see what the team is producing for them. So that's how easy it is for you to access the contents on A360 Team. BIM 360 Glue is a little bit more complex, and our production personnel, they like it because they can do everything that a project manager can do in A360 Team, but with more detail, with more precision.
Okay, at this time I don't see any, oh, I do see one more question. So are they just viewing 2D drawings?
I'm assuming that you're asking about A360 Team. No, you can observe the three-dimensional model. You can walk inside the model like you would do in BIM 360 Glue. You can also view the sheets dynamically, which means that all the objects on the sheet are not just mere lines. They are capturing the data that they represent. In other words, if you pick a wall partition in A360 Team, it knows what the properties of that object are. But essentially, like I said, you can do much more than that. In A360 Team, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can actually engage in what we're doing right now, which is basically a live session, kind of like a go-to meeting or a webinar with any of the other team members. And that's solely based through the internet on A360 Team. But you can do much more than just viewing 2D drawings. You can actually explode the model like a puzzle and see all of its components. You can orbit, walk, fly through, etc. It's just easier for our non-Revit savvy people to use as opposed to BIM 360 Glue.